Kwewu Youth for Social Development, an NGO, calls for deployment of more police personnel to Kwewu communities with nomadic herdsmen.
And Trades Union Congress wants government to introduce reforms to revive key national assets instead of outright privatization.
And President Akufo-Addo describes as disturbing political events in Togo and reveals lack of government's efforts at engaging political actors in ensuring lasting peace.
Also in the headlines, 1,000 donkeys killed monthly despite ban on slaughter and export of donkey skin from the country.
And on the foreign front this evening, incumbent Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta wins 98% of the vote in a repeat presidential election in Kenya.
We have all the details, including sports and entertainment, coming up this hour. Stay with us. Now turn to our first story. And the Kwewu Youth for Social Development has called for the deployment of more police personnel to communities in Kwewu where Fulanis are resident. President of the group, Solomon Tete, in a statement indicated beefing up security is necessary to prevent the recurrence of clashes between Fulani herdsmen and indigents. 9 persons have been confirmed dead in a reprisal attacks between nomadic herdsmen and residents of the Kwewu East district of the Eastern region. The attacks occurred in separate incidents over the past 4 days. Now, clashes between residents and herdsmen trace back to almost a decade with several lives lost.
And still on this, the body of a 24-year-old butcher has been found dead in a bush near Kuga, a suburb of Yendi in the northern region. The suspected murder led to reprisal attacks on some Fulani herdsmen by the youth in the community. The reported tension over the presence of Fulani herdsmen at Yendi follows similar disputes which have left 8 persons dead in some parts of the Kwewu East district of the eastern region. Preliminary investigations by the police at Yendi revealed that Ibrahim Abdullahi was found dead on Sunday, October 29, at about 6:30 p.m. The body has since been deposited at the Tamale Teaching Hospital morgue. According to police reports, 4 nomadic herdsmen in the Yendi township were found with multiple degrees of injuries at 10 p.m. on Sunday. After the death of Ibrahim Abdullahi was communicated, the youth in the town went on rampage and attacked the 4 herdsmen. No arrest has been made.
And now to other news tonight, and the Secretary of the National Labour Commission, Kweku Ofusu Asamoah, is requesting financial clearance from government to appoint more lawyers for the commission. And with more than 1,200 cases pending, the commission has only 1 lawyer.
The National Labour Commission was set up by Act 651 to adjudicate industrial disputes. These include wrongful dismissals and termination of appointments. The commission, with 2 offices, operates solely from head office in Accra, where computers are inadequate and lacks space to keep archival materials. Its Western Regional Office is also ill-equipped. Transport is by means of 2 official cars and motorcycles which need to be repaired. This vehicle parked here belongs to the National Labour Commission. It's supposed to assist the commission to work, but currently it is faulty, and the commission says it doesn't have funds to help it fix this particular vehicle. Initially there were 2, but the executive secretary himself has to finance the first one by paying close to 1,000 Ghana cedis to get the other one on the road. Will the commission be able to raise additional funds to get this vehicle back on the road?
you came from Tema, the vehicle will have to go to Tema. The same vehicle will go to Aburi. The same vehicle. There are cases where I have to give off my official vehicle for them to use.
The commission, with more than 1,000 cases pending, requires at least 4 lawyers in Accra.
I have also written to Tema, the municipal authority, so that in future they could be posting the newly trained lawyers who come out and those who did industrial relations, dispute resolution.
Of major concern to the LNC is that of the commissioners who are part-time workers.
There have been cases where allowances for the members of the commission have been delayed for 6 to 10 months. Because they are part-time commissioners, they sit once a week, only on Wednesdays. And on Wednesdays, they come in the afternoon. These are the time when they would have attended to their work, either as lawyers, either at their various engagements, and they come tired.
The commission is appealing for support from the labor unions as well.
And now in education, the school feeding program through the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection is asking caterers who have not received all their arrears to report to either the regional or national secretariat for redress. Public Relations Officer of the program, Siba Alpha, says the secretariat through the Ministry of Gender has released 16 more days of the arrears owed the caterers.
The Public Relations Officer, Siba Alpha, indicated over 151 million cedis had been released to the caterers since March this year, with the latest one being last week for some 16 days. But the caterers denied the 16 days, saying some of them received payments ranging between 5 to 7 days and some have not received anything at all. But the Public Relations Officer said some deductions are being made because some of the women had procured food items from the Secretariat on credit as well as from Maslock, and asked that such persons report to the Secretariat for redress.
Sometimes too, the caterers might not have provided services throughout the 16 days. Many months have elapsed, so a caterer might not necessarily remember whether she has cooked or not cooked. So a caterer might not necessarily know that this is the trajectory.
The PRO insisted it will be difficult for government to pay the caterers outright since the program is a pre-financing one.
When you quantify all these monies that we have paid them, you are going to get 151,152,000 Ghana cedis, 850 cedis. The rest of the feeding grants, which is about 100 days, will be paid in due course, because we have made a request from the Minister of Finance for a release of the remaining arrears.
Last week, caterers of the school feeding program who said their jobs had been taken away from them embarked on a peaceful march and later presented a petition to the Gender Ministry demanding outright payment of their arrears.
Now let's move to crime-related gender issues. The Gender Ministry is to review child-related legislation to prevent juvenile offending. Gender, Children and Social Protection Minister Otiko Afisa-Jaba says this is necessary in the wake of increased numbers of defilement and rape cases in the country.
The past week has witnessed outrage from a cross-section of the public after the case of a 4-year-old girl defiled was reported at the same at the DNTM. The calls have been many: swift prosecution of the juvenile offender and care to be offered the victim.
We are going to provide shelter and accommodation. We are going to look at her health and ensure that her psychological state, the mother, the father, the child, the family, how we can reintegrate them into their community. And so it is not only the victim, it is the community that they have to go back and live in.
The ministry says as cases of defilement and rape surge, there is the need for reforms.
We are going to look at juvenile justice, for example, areas in which there is a gap, like we are finding out today, that a child was left, well, alone is part of the issue. What do we do to ensure that children are protected when their parents are absent.
There are calls for a waiver of medical expenses of victims. The Ghana Police Service says it will go a long way to extend help to victims' parents.
At the police hospital, which is in Accra, we do not charge for such examinations. I do know that some other facilities do charge, but these are not within the control of the police service. And so we will also appeal, we will join the voices in appealing that some kind of policy or some kind of regulations or rules are made so that victims who have, people who have suffered these crimes and who need medical attention can get the medical attention for free.
Let's now attention to some other stories this evening. As managing consultant of Goodwill International Group, Philip Akpena Asibit has told an Accra High Court the state is pushing for the court to believe the contract between him and the National Youth Employment Program never existed because he cannot get access to some documents. He insisted the contract between his consultancy firm and the National Youth Employment Program existed, stressing some individuals have hidden some documents from the courts to prevent him from properly pursuing his case.
Although managing consultant of Goodwill International Group Philip Akpena Asibit has told the court there is a grand scheme by the state and some individuals to deny him justice, he said documents presented to the court and the information from some witnesses indicate that he had a contractual agreement with NYEP that led to the payment of some monies. This was after he was told by the state prosecutor Evelyn Kilson that he had no contract with NYEP and available documents proved to that effect. Philip Akpena Asibit insisted he had a contract with NYEP, but former Director General of Management Development and Productivity Institute MDPI, Dr. Shaibu Gariba, will not make available some documents for his defense. He argued if he had no contract with NYEP, why will the predecessor of Dr. Gariba, Dr. Martin Zeme, witness the previous MOU and tripartite agreement signed by GIG, NYEP and Westcam, where he was also briefed of other engagements. He also disagreed with prosecution that he had no consultancy agreement awarding consultancy services to GIG and MDPI, which prosecution stated is evident in the invoices tendered in as evidence which he claimed money for. He again denied the claim that he signed as managing consultant for MDPI, which he said he couldn't have done because he never held such a title with MDPI. Meanwhile, the case between businessman Alfred Agbesi Woyome and the state was adjourned to November 13. The Lands Commission was expected to appear before the Supreme Court to answer questions on the ownership of the Abelemkpe property, which Woyome currently occupies but has denied ownership. Godfrey Tanam, TV3 News. Godfrey Tanam, TV3 News, Accra.
And now, Chairman of the National Media Commission, Nana Kwesi Jan Apenteng, has tasked the new board of the Graphic Communications Group to fashion out innovative strategies to sustain the industry. He was inaugurating the 9-member reconstituted board here in Accra.
The newspaper industry, both as a business and a format for the dissemination of news, is facing its biggest challenge in several centuries. Its decline is as a result of changing media consumption and the rise in digital and social media. The situation is worse in Ghana, where reading culture is poor and newspaper content are read on sponsored programs on TV and radio stations. Chairman of the National Media Commission charged the Daily Graphic to begin the process of redefining its role and the future of newspapers in the country.
Boldly speaking the mind of the people, speaking truth to power. Today, newspapers are either openly and blatantly politically aligned, very partisan, or otherwise very timid, afraid of the owner or of the state.
The outgoing managing director of the Graphic Communications Group Limited, Kenneth Ashigbe, outlined some measures taken during his tenure to sustain the fortunes of the company.
We have developed the Graphic News app, the digital version of our newspapers. We have signed an MOU with Mega Choice Network to start Graphic TV projects, and that should be pursued. We are also in the process of signing an MOU with an Indian company, MLL, to improve our paper conversion capacity that plans to convert the graphic clinic to offer laboratory and pharmaceutical services to the public for profit.
The chairman of the past board, Professor Mani Entry, recommended to the new board to sustain the aggressive digital media strategy, which will ensure engagement of the youth and attain market leadership.
It will be dangerous to experiment the MD's position. Graphic Communication Group needs strong leadership, someone with a vision and a strategic intelligence to succeed and achieve, a person with an enlightened stewardship character, one that values authentic journalism, believes in public service, and above all, understands technology and can drive technology.
The new board is chaired by Professor Kwame Kari, a renowned lecturer in communication studies.
Now, TV3, as part of events marking its 20th anniversary, has lined up a series of exclusive interviews with eminent Ghanaians dubbed 20 by 20. We intend to take our viewers and audience on an expedition through history from the unique perspectives of these eminent personalities while celebrating their personal contributions. The episodes will run for 10 weeks on television, radio and our online platforms. The first episode would be aired on News 360 tomorrow, Tuesday, October 31.
We still have not arrived. I mean, we shouldn't think that we have, because we have not arrived in the sense that we still have impunity in the system. When vigilantism continues to be there, where people show people where power lies, law and order sometimes breaks down, and people think that they are above everything. We have not yet arrived. Inde huwecho sana odede piya bubebe ya eriye. People shop at the Roma, lazy, you know, this was Ramblers.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's do some business now with me, Nanikia Mensah Brampa. The Fisheries and Aquaculture Development has launched a campaign to promote hygienic handling, preserving and processing fish for healthy consumption. Now, as part of the project, the ministry donated 20 insulated containers to fishmongers and smokers operating at various fishing communities.
There are about 27,000 women fish processors engaged in smoking, drying and salt drying of fish in the country. The women suffer losses owing to bad handling of fish during its preserving and processing. The Fisheries and Aquaculture and Development Minister, Elizabeth Nafolekwe, said the program is timely to control post-harvest losses and ensure safe and quality fish for consumers.
We encourage people to wash their hands before the start of work, before handling food, before and after eating your own food, and also after going to the washroom. We want to encourage personal hygiene.
Fishmongers and smokers in the fishing communities including Tema, Mori, Sekendi, Apam, Winneba, Manford, Choko, Kokrobite, Elmina, Ketu and Keta will benefit from the gesture. About 2.5 million people are dependent on the fisheries sector for their livelihood. However, owing to overfishing and exploitation, the supply of fish has dwindled over the past decade.
The Ministry of Trade and Industry and the security agencies have clamped down on unapproved sale of car ball bearings in the Tema metropolis. Over 20 shops were rid of the substandard products. These are reports by Frederick Clarence Williams.
Officials of the Trade and Industry Ministry, National Security and the police swooped on the retailers of substandard car ball bearing and some illegal products in the Tema municipality. Over 20 stores were raided, while several quantities of the substandard products were seized. The Executive Director of SKF Brand Protection, Tina
Well, we apologize for that. We'll bring you that story in subsequent bulletins. But let's move on. And the Tema General Hospital facility is to be expanded by March 2018. Now, the expansion project will be undertaken by MTN Ghana Foundation, and it forms part of the activities to mark the foundation's 10th anniversary. March 2018. The expansion project to be undertaken by the MTN Ghana Foundation forms part of activities to mark the foundation's 10th anniversary.
MTN Ghana Foundation has for 10 years spearheaded impactful projects on health, education and economic empowerment. Its flagship project was the donation of medical equipment to the maternity unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, valued at 129,500 cedis.
The place was a mess, and the refurbishment, when you saw the joy with which mothers had their children, the hygienic conditions, the staff were excited. I think it really had an impact because a lot of cases were being referred there.
This year marks the foundation's 10th anniversary, to be celebrated till March 2018. A social media campaign dubbed #10GoodDeeds would be launched. The company's humanitarian ventures are actualized by dedicating a proportion of each operating unit's profit after tax to undertaking CSR activities.
We've undertaken 142 projects in the areas of health, education and economic empowerment, and I must say that this has impacted over 4 million Ghanaians, and it's certainly been a wonderful opportunity to serve our communities.
Other projects by the foundation include the scholarship scheme, from which more than 1,000 people have been benefited, MTN Ghana Multimedia Incubator Center, and MTN Heroes of Change. The new Drobbing Secondary School will also be supported during the anniversary period, and a 200,000 Ghana cedi building project for palm oil producers at Draso will be handed over. The theme for the anniversary is celebrating 10 years of brightening lives, inspiring for a brighter future. Theme for the 10th anniversary is celebrating 10 years of brightening lives, inspiring for a brighter future.
And that will do for the business segment tonight. Thanks for staying with us. My name is Nanekia Mensah Brampa. Isa is standing by with more. Good evening.
Thank you, Nanekia. And the Trades Union Congress wants government to introduce reforms to revive key national assets instead of outright privatization. Speaking at a meeting with President Akufo-Addo at the Flagstaff House, the TUC also called for financial support for the Labour Commission.
The president meeting with the executive body of the TUC is his first since assuming office. Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress appealed to government to support the Labour Commission deal with backlog of cases.
The National Labour Commission needs special attention. Currently, there are hundreds of industrial dispute cases pending at the National Labour Commission. In order to clear this huge backlog of cases, we suggest that the commissioners should be given the necessary incentives to sit at least 4 days per week instead of half a day per week. In the medium term, a more sustainable way to ensure that industrial disputes are settled very quickly and that justice is not delayed is to amend the Labour Act, Act 651.
Dr. Yalba advised government to tread cautiously on the ECG concession and the sale of some units of the VRA.
The Labour Act, Act 651, provides that in a reorganization such as what is happening at the ECG, the incumbent job holders must be paid redundancy benefits. But MIDA has sidelined the Public Utility Workers Union, and it is trying very hard to use the back door to engage ECG workers directly. That is the main reason why the union has gone to court to seek an injunction on the concession process. I urge you, Mr. President, to intervene to ensure that the union is properly engaged so that Ghana can benefit fully from the compact.
He again called for radical reforms at the Social Security and National Insurance Trust (SNIT) to make it more viable. Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Ignatius Bafuiwa, responded on behalf of government.
You agree with me that when it comes to issues of law, he's number one. You can't just ignore the provisions of the law and then go ahead to establish your own structures, without regard to the law. So what we need to do is that we have to carry out the reforms, starting from actually making sure that the legal regime itself is looked at, and where necessary, the reforms will start from the amendments of the law. If there need be, also that we may have to even come out with a new law altogether, we may have to do.
Now, still on the presidency, President Akufo-Addo has described as disturbing political events in Togo and revealed government efforts at engaging political actors and ensuring lasting peace. The president made the revelation when he received chiefs and elders of Aflao traditional area at the Flagstaff House.
The traditional authority from Aflao in the Ketu South municipality was at the presidency to thank the president for his policies and appealed for the completion of projects started by the previous administration. Paramount Chief of the Aflao traditional area, Togwiga Amenya Fiti V, called for the creation of an additional district in Ketu district and appealed for government intervention in the Togo crisis.
The consequences of this impasse, if not peacefully resolved, could result in refugee inflow into Aflao, which could adversely affect our economy and security.
President Akufo-Addo assured the chiefs of effort to address their request on the creation of new district. He, however, revealed government effort at addressing the political crisis in Togo.
The events that are taking place next door in Togo are disturbing for all of us. I remember vividly what happened in 2005 when the former president Eyadema died. There were problems over the succession. Over 100,000 refugees streamed across the border to take out. Many of them, I think, are still there. They have not gone back to Togo. So I know that anything that happens in Togo is a matter of very, very great concern. And it is a concern to me and to all the people of Ghana. You can be sure that I cannot be idle while these events are taking place. The Togolese president came to see me in Tamale 10 days ago for a long discussion. I've been meeting other political actors in the situation, and definitely we're all talking to see how we can bring this crisis to a closure and bring stability and peace back to Togo.
The president again appealed to the chiefs to work with law enforcement agencies to draw positive benefits from the open border policy.
Now, the ban on slaughter and export of donkey skins from Ghana is not being enforced. 1,000 out of the estimated 11,500 donkeys in the country are slaughtered monthly.
On January 17 this year, the Food and Agriculture Ministry banned the slaughter and export of donkey skins from Ghana, but the law is not being enforced. According to the Veterinary Services Directorate, there is a sharp increase in the number of donkeys being slaughtered on a daily basis, particularly in the northern parts of the country. The Donkey Sanctuary, an NGO, is drawing worldwide attention to the donkey skin trade.
Now, we're hearing reports from Ghana of 1,500 to 2,000 donkeys just in one district alone being sourced and slaughtered every single month. And that's meaning people are bringing in donkeys from Burkina Faso, from Mali, from Niger, from neighbouring countries, and that's not where the source is coming from. That adds huge biosecurity issues as well, because those donkeys could be passing with anthrax, with tetanus, with rabies, epizootic lymphangitis, African horse sickness, all number of different things which are not being checked.
Citizens who rely on donkeys for farming activities and the transportation of goods, especially in rural areas, are concerned.
What is important now is to get all stakeholders informed. So everybody from immigration, customs, police, if we get all of them informed, they will be able to, implement the ban.
Interesting one there. Now, a Ghana Health Service report indicates that 240,000 Ghanaians, representing 1% of the population, are totally blind. A foundation to support persons with visual impairment in deprived communities has been launched in Accra to give hope to rural dwellers.
An estimated 80% of their blindness could have been avoided. Many people with eye defects have had their condition deteriorated due to poverty. The Ajuman Eye Foundation, a non-governmental organization, intends to provide hope through the mobilization of funds to support the treatment of eye defects of rural dwellers.
I have the compassion to reach out to them, educate people who have not lost their sight yet, check their eyes, and ensure that if there is any defect, it's dealt with immediately. For people who need eye care but cannot raise the money, we intend to go out there, get people to donate and support the eye care.
The foundation would also periodically embark on awareness creation campaign on eye-related diseases across the country while providing counsel for totally blind persons.
In Ghana currently, we estimate that we have 50,000 people blind from glaucoma. Unfortunately, these people cannot regain their sight. However, for those who have the potential of developing glaucoma or who are in the early stages of glaucoma, it is possible for us to prevent them from going blind, which is why it's very important for them to continue to check their eye pressure.
You're still live here on News 360. We've got sports news with Nana Kojo Afresh shortly. Stay with us.
And in this segment tonight, Brahafo Regions Adom took a bow and was grateful for the opportunities and lessons learned in the competition. She is hopeful the platform provided will grant her audience the necessary support to embark on her project.
I believe to achieve good customer service and provide hospitable services in Ghana, there is the need for one, reorientation of frontline service providers. So, excellent service provided must be a part of our culture. 3, developing mechanisms and systems which will help check poor customer service in Ghana. 4, there should be a day and an award scheme which will help celebrate customer excellence in our institution.
It was an emotional moment, but Adom says the learning process has been beneficial. For her, it is a competition and definitely some would have to go and others stay.
Oh, Ebenezer, this is how far the Lord has brought Adom. It's been fun, it's been entertaining being with them. I've learned a lot. Sometimes I'll say something and they'll be like, it's not like that, say it this way. I've learned a lot from them. But all I'll say is that may the best person win. All of them are queens. And everybody has the potential of winning GMB 2017.
She said, however, that the eviction will not deter her from embarking on her maternal health education campaign.
A lot of people know me now, so I'll use that opportunity to tell the people about maternal mortality. The rate at which our women are dying is too much, so I would come in and then talk about maternal mortality in the Brogaf region.
Meanwhile, judges say they are looking for an embodiment of a beauty queen, not just a stage performer. According to them, whoever is crowned at the end of the competition should be able to represent the Ghana's most beautiful brand and maintain the standard it has kept over the years.
All said and done, we're looking for a beauty queen. And this queen must be able to speak intelligently, must have poise, must be an all-rounder, must have good knowledge of our norms and traditions. So if you come and recite something and you don't own it, we know that you haven't learned anything.
Right.
When you were coming into the house, we knew that you didn't know everything, but you've been given an opportunity to learn. So if you come and stand here and you recite and you miss your words, that tells me that you didn't learn anything, because if you learned it, you'll be able to say it without memorizing. So that's what we're looking for.
The contestants staged a hospitality-themed performance talking about how welcoming Ghanaians are as a people. Addressing the different ways in which the people showcased their warm hospitality, each of their performances was with a moral lesson and a word of caution. While Adom was adjudged most disciplined in the reality house, Nana won both most eloquent and star performer for the night. Ghana's Most Beautiful 2017 strayed out of Ghana.
Oh, we still wish all of them the very best, right? It certainly is a great platform for these young ladies.
Beautiful. I hope they will do well too. That's all in this edition of News 360. My name is Issa Moni. Thanks for watching.
And I'm Natalie Fort. We've got more news on our website, 3news.com, and News at 10 will simulcast on 3FM 92.7. Next is Tashan. Enjoy the rest of your evening.